expectations when buying a home or condo in Roatan, Honduras. So if you're coming from North America, the process is going to be very similar, slightly different from Europe and other areas of the world. But what we do in Roatan, Honduras is we do mimic it off the United States, the MLS, and those procedures for transferring property. Most of the money typically has to go through the United States anyway. So we do lightly follow those standards. Now, when I say lightly follow and we kind of mimic, it's not the same. And so even though we do say it's the same, because we do follow the same guidelines, the same rules, the same procedures, it's just slightly different and I'm highly biased and I say this in every video. It really depends on who you work with on the buy side. And I'm not saying you have to work with me. If you want it done right, you would. But there are also a lot of other really great agents on this island. Make sure you work with one of them and it will make your life much better, because we are going to do all of the kind of the nuances that kind of come up with each real estate transaction. And I'm just going to go over a few of the most common ones. Doesn't mean it's going to happen every time, and doesn't mean I'm going to talk about all of them, because I am surprised. Basically every transaction's a little bit different, so it keeps you on your toes. You never get bored. So there's always something. And being in Roatan, you will realize that there's always something, and I don't mean that good or bad. It's just there's always going to be something there. So buying a house in Roatan, Honduras, so it's going to be very similar. You're going to look at homes just like you would anywhere else, or you can do it virtually. A lot of people actually buy virtually in Roatan, that always makes me nervous, because I want people to make sure that they like Roatan. It's not that I'm not sure about the house I'm showing. I have lots of opinions. You get to hear a lot of them. You get the filtered opinions that I can edit out. So if you work with me, you're gonna get a little bit more of my inner monologue and a lot more of my candor, if you will. And here, I edit that out because it doesn't go over very well in video. But what I like is people coming to the island so they can see the island, they get to know the island, because the island is not always for everyone. It's for me, but if you ask that same question to my mother, you're gonna get a totally different answer. Even though her beautiful grandchildren live on this island, she is not gonna stay here for more than 2 weeks maximum, and maybe once a year. And that's only because her grandkids are here. So when you go to look at houses, you begin the negotiation process. And one of the multitude of reasons why you need a good agent is, before we go into the house, I already know who's listing it, and I probably know any backstory that has happened to the unit, how many owners it's had, any issues it's had, because it is a little island, which is, I'm talking about it a lot, about representation, because I can tell you all those things. I can tell you when the pool was leaking and who fixed it and if they were competent or not, or if it's a little town. We just know, we don't know everything, but we know a lot, especially if there's issues with houses that do hit the market. We are aware of those. So the negotiation takes a little bit. I'd say time is still of the essence. We do follow the rule. Time is of the essence. But we're also on island time. Island time means anything from right now immediately to, I don't know, a year. So it's just kind of all over the place. So time is of the essence. That is a term. We use that a lot in the United States. I know in Colorado, I'm a broker there as well. If I go more than a couple hours when time is of the essence, or there's multiple offers, there's a lot of traction, I'm out. We've lost it if we cannot perform within 12 hours. Here, I'd say 12 hours, nothing's going to happen. And if you can get things done within 48, you're moving really, really fast. So there is a little bit difference of the connotation of time is of the essence. The second thing is creativity. We actually get to be creative when you buy a home here. And so it's the typical things that it's just, speaking from my experience with Colorado, it was all the bottom line. How much are you gonna give me and what are you not gonna make me do? In Roatan, we get to be a lot more creative and a lot more, I think it's fun, and say, hey, I want this house for this amount, these are the terms, and you get to just negotiate a little bit more. You get to sometimes be creative. You're like, you know what? I want I want the chickens that are at the house. I want those chickens off the property. That's another true story. Or, well, when I bought the latest property that I have, there's a bunny. I love the bunny. The bunny is currently eating all my plants that I just planted, but that was kind of part of the joke. Is like, I'll take the bunny. I'll be responsible for the bunny. The bunny, well, chose to live, and well, apparently I've given it great food. So we get to be a little bit more creative with things, including a lot of times in Roatan, furniture is included in the sale unless it's new construction, and it just kind of gets all wrapped into the price. And we can do that here because we don't really have mortgages, which I did talk about. I think we're going to post it the week before this gets posted. So if you do have any questions about mortgages, there's a lot there. Third is we're going to go back to the time is of the essence. So timing is different here. We are island time. So just a quick response is probably within 48 hours. The negotiation process, I would say, typically takes, it's not usually one and done here. And in Colorado, you would send one offer. It had to be highest and best at the beginning. In Roatan, it's more old school. It's what we used to do as agents. So we actually have to work harder and do our jobs here. It's not just, kind of an instant, anybody can do it, send an offer over. And that's not belittling what I do in Colorado. It's just, there's a lot more nuance and there's a lot more tacit knowledge that is needed down here. So 48 hours tends to be very quick, but negotiations can take weeks. And some of that is just running out the clock. Some of it's just being dramatic. Some of it's just, there's other things to do. There's, you can go scuba diving, or the sun's out and it's Taco Tuesday. Other priorities come up where they do not, and that doesn't mean anything negative over your transaction. It just means there's other things going on, and it's just part of the process, which can be I find it unsettling. Even though I know it's going to happen, I like things done very quickly. Most of my clients are also in the expectation of quick, which it's not really a thing. Or quick it just means something different. So and then it even goes to like when we close, like your closes, it's usually 30 plus days, where it was usually 30 days minimum or maximum in Colorado. Otherwise the seller wouldn't accept your deal. Here it's at least 30 days, ideally within 60, or I like in my contracts I put 45 days. That gives us enough time to get all of our due diligence, talk to the municipal, because there is a lot of back and forth, and not all of it, most of it is not automated like in a lot of jurisdictions. So that's just, so I do like to do 45 days, 60 days is common. Sometimes if it can go to 90 days, and that's usually when we just need a little bit more paperwork, usually on the sell side. And sometimes all of that beginning work was not completed, which is a little bit different, and everybody works their own time frames. I know if I'm going to list a property, I'm going to have all of that paperwork done before I put my name on something, because it's my reputation and it's extra headache at the end of the day for my clients. All right, the next item that throws people off a little bit with buying real estate is not everything is always done at the closing table, which I know that's really weird and kind of a red flag, right? Well, you definitely want to make sure you have all of the necessary items before you send that money over. But with the delay, how much development we have on the island, the municipal, everything has to go through the municipal and through an attorney, and it takes some time. So the day of closing, you will not be given the deed to the property. Now you will sign paperwork, signing, making sure that it is legal, or you should be, or you should not be sending the money. But you are not going to get your pretty blue folder. And for the love of everything in this world, do not lose that blue folder. Ask me why I know. I lost all my blue folders in a wildfire in Colorado, and whoo, it was so hard to get those remade, and some of them, I haven't even cleaned up some of them. Anyway, I digress. It is very, very important that you need to get that, actually that tall legal print blue piece of or folder, because that is your title, that is your declaration, that is your stocks, that is everything. And if you ever want to sell it, or if there ever anything comes up on the property, if someone's claiming squatters rights, which that's a thing here, and it can go back 20 years, which you just have to be very, very careful. And that's what one of the due diligence of the buyer's agent and the attorneys is, to make sure everything is free and clear and that there are no claims. And if there are, we have to release those. And those also include employment around, in and around the property. So there's a lot there. So that title, you will not be getting that on the closing day. And I have a property, that I closed on in November of 2022. We are still waiting on it. Now, with that said, I'm not pushing that one because I'm going to use all my favors for my clients. And so I'm like, and they also know that it's mine. And so it just isn't being pushed as fast as I would like it to, but I'm still waiting and chomping at the bit to get that beautiful blue piece of paper that I'm going to keep safe, and hopefully a wildfire will not take again, because it's very difficult if you lose that piece of paper. But that's also why who you work with matters. And it's not just your realtor, it's your closing attorney as well, because they are ultimately the ones that are filing the paperwork with the title and making sure everything is legal. So it very much matters who you work with here. And you cannot just Google these things, which is different. We don't have Zillow, we do have an MLS, but we don't have Zillow, we don't have Redfin, we don't have all of those other things. We don't have we do have public records, but you're not going to be able to find them online. And if you don't know what you're looking for, asking for or looking for, it's darn near impossible to find. So that's just some things to think about. You do have to depend a lot more on your team, and the time is of the essence does tend to throw some things off. Those are the largest differences when buying real estate in Roatan, Honduras. Most of it just comes down to timing. Things are done mañana. What does mañana mean? It can mean a lot of things, and it can mean today, it can mean tomorrow, it can mean 12 plus months from now. So as long as you are comfortable with the timing and you're comfortable with who you work with, reputations do matter here. You cannot just Google your way out of most things, and you can't find things online. It has to be done in person. So boots on the ground is very, very important. And knowing who you work with, if you can find them, make sure they're not going anywhere. Do they have a physical office? I think with all my videos, you can tell where I sit a lot of the time, and actually the Roatan Life office is right behind where I'm sitting right now, also right next door to the attorney that I use. So, and I can see them. I see it every single day, so it's nice to be front of mind when you can see people. So if you ever have any questions, or you're just anytime I could be in any of help, I have lots of opinions, and I would love to hear from you. Oh, I forgot to show you what I've been looking at this entire video. It's a nice, beautiful day in Roatan, Honduras. It's a nice change from the last 7 days of rain. We're still in rainy season, but this is my backyard today.